I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died.
Joe Theismann breaks his leg. This is the football injury to end all football injuries, the one that even non-fans recognize.
7 weeks later, on Monday Night Football, the whole world witnessed the play Theismann is most famous for.
Joe Theismann was a two-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl winning quarterback, but most people remember him as that guy whose leg went backwards. Yeah, that injury is every bit as gruesome as it sounds.
You grabbed me.
Yeah, so, and
you
it
swung
just
around, and right here, right off my right ear, I heard this pow pow.
I heard it too. I heard it too.
It occurred on November 18th, 1985, when Theismann was sacked by Lawrence Taylor. Theismann's right leg got caught under Taylor's body and, in the quarterback's own words, snapped like a breadstick. The response was immediate, with Taylor showing great distress and frantically waving over the medical team. The injury ended Theismann's career and permanently shortened his leg, as the bones never recovered to their full size or strength.
I know in my career, it's the same thing. You know, you win a championship, you're an MVP of the league, you're all these things. But the only thing that people remember you for is an injury.
Nadar Kumratashvili dies at the Olympics. Georgian luge athlete Nadar Kumratashvili traveled to British Columbia to attend the 2010 Winter Olympics, but tragedy struck before his event could occur.
Nadar Kumratashvili, a luge athlete who was the pride of this town, was set to compete in the Vancouver Olympics when he was killed in an accident during a training run just before the games began.
On February 12th, the day of the opening ceremonies, Kumratashvili was training at the sliding center in Whistler, British Columbia. He successfully completed 25 runs, but it was during the last one that the athlete made a mistake and flew off the track at 89 miles per hour.
If they didn't make mistakes with the tracks, why did they lower the height of the starting point? Why did they make the modifications and lower the men's starting point by about 200 meters?
His body struck a steel pole, and while he was immediately treated by on-site personnel, his injuries were too great and he tragically passed away. A moment of silence was held during the opening ceremonies to honor Kumratashvili, and the Georgian team was met with a standing ovation.
His death cast a shadow over the games and raised questions of safety over the lightning-fast luge track there.
Ayrton Senna crashes at Imola. A Formula One legend, Ayrton Senna was a three-time drivers' champion and the winner of 41 Formula One wins.
His masterful display earned him a hard-fought victory and left a visibly exhausted Mansell in P2.
During the 1994 season, Senna was driving for Williams and had won pole position in the first 3 races. The third occurred at the San Marino Grand Prix, which is where Senna would die on May 1st. During lap 7, Senna left the track and crashed into a concrete barrier at 131 miles per hour.
Today, we've lost, arguably, the greatest talent of his generation. After a high-speed crash at Tamburello, Ayrton Senna is dead.
It was immediately evident that the driver was hurt, as he was completely motionless in the cockpit. He was pulled from the car and given an emergency tracheotomy before being rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, Senna would not survive his injuries, as he had suffered substantial head trauma.
It's been a dreadful day, and the loss of Ayrton Senna is really tough to comprehend.
Malice at the Palace. Athletes fight among themselves all the time, but it rarely spills into the stands. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened on November 19th, 2004.
And Wallace is fouled, and Wallace did... Wallace! Right at our chest. This has potential to be serious.
The Pacers were in Detroit playing the Pistons when all hell broke loose with just 46 seconds left in the game. Following an altercation between Ben Wallace and Ron Artest, an angry fan threw a drink at Artest. Artest rushed into the stands and attacked an innocent man whom he believed was responsible.
That's one of the worst scenes I've ever seen.
People defended the man against Artest. People attacked those people, and before long, a massive brawl was unleashed. When it was all said and done, 10 people were charged with assault, 5 fans were banned from the Palace, and 9 players were suspended.
I've never experienced anything like that. I'm surprised there's not a 30 for 30 on that.
Oh, there will be.
There will be, but you got to get the cooperation of Ron, and I don't think Ron will ever talk about that day.
Owen Hart falls from the ceiling. It was May 23rd, 1999, and Owen Hart was participating in a pay-per-view event called Over the Edge.
We've got a big match tonight, going after the Intercontinental Championship, taking on The Godfather.
Ooh, The Godfather. Just saying his name makes my blue blood.
Hart was scheduled to fight The Godfather and was going to make a comedic entrance by descending from the arena's rafters, getting stuck in an apparent malfunction, and then falling into the ring. Unfortunately, the device malfunctioned for real and dropped Hart 78 feet onto the top rope.
Last night in Kansas City, Missouri, with more than 18,000 people in the arena and a large worldwide pay-per-view audience, Hart was getting ready to make a spectacular entrance, similar to one he'd made before.
CPR was immediately administered, and broadcaster Jerry Lawler ominously claimed that it doesn't look good at all. He was right. The fall had severed Hart's aorta, and he bled to death within minutes. Hart was rushed to the hospital, and life-saving operations were performed, but they were ultimately futile.
I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died. Owen Hart has tragically died from that accident here tonight.
Monica Seles is stabbed in the back. Monica Seles is a legend in the tennis world, having won 9 Grand Slam titles.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 1991 Women's U.S. Open champion, Monica Seles.
By 1993, she was at the peak of her career, but it nearly came to an abrupt end on April 30th. Seles was playing in the Citizen Cup when a German man named Günter Parsche left the stands and approached Seles, who was resting on the bench.
When I was in a tennis match when this happened, I was doing something that I love, and I never ever expected something like this to happen.
He stabbed Seles in the back with a knife, penetrating half an inch into her skin. He had done so as an act of revenge against Seles, who had defeated German player Steffi Graf in numerous Grand Slam finals. As disturbing as the situation was, Seles recovered and returned to tennis, even winning the Australian Open in 1996.
I left this tournament in 1993 with unbelievable memories, and the hardest thing for me, the time that I couldn't play, was not being able to defend my title here, and it's just great to be back.
The Le Mans disaster. Motorsports has seen some horrific accidents, but none quite like the Le Mans crash of 1955. It occurred in France during the 24 hours of Le Mans race, when driver Mike Hawthorne pulled in front of Lance Macklin. Macklin swerved to avoid the braking Hawthorne and drove directly into the path of Pierre Levesque. Levesque's car struck Hawthorne's, which acted as a ramp and sent Levesque's Mercedes into the grandstand. The car exploded and debris was sent hurling at top speeds through the spectators, striking and crushing dozens. Levesque was killed, as were 83 others. It remains the deadliest crash in motorsports and led to a significant redesign of Circuit de la Sarre, which is still in operation today. Dale Earnhardt's crash. Perhaps the greatest driver in NASCAR history, Dale Earnhardt was the winner of 7 Winston Cup championships.
Some people become heroes because they live above the rest of us. But the real heroes are the ones who never leave us. They never forget where they came from, and they honor us by embracing us back.
This is the most in the company's history, a record he shares with Richard Petty and Jimmy Johnson. On February 18, 2001, Earnhardt was driving in the Daytona 500 and was taking the final turn of the final lap when he bumped into Ken Schrader. The accident sent Earnhardt into the concrete wall at 160 miles per hour.
I think we were as prepared as a team and an organization in 2001 to go out and win the championship as any year that we won it, and the worst happened.
When both cars had come to a stop, Schrader ran to check on Earnhardt and knew immediately that he was dead. To this day, he refuses to explain what he saw. Earnhardt's death was officially announced less than 2 hours later, striking a significant blow to the NASCAR community.
This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident and turn forward at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
The Clint Malarchuk Injury. A professional goaltender, Clint Malarchuk was playing for the Buffalo Sabres in 1989 when he experienced one of the most grotesque injuries in sports history.
Clint Malarchuk played 338 games in the NHL, but is remembered for one.
A collision occurred in front of Malarchuk, sending Blues player Steve Tuttle into the net. His skate rose into the air and made contact with Malarchuk's unguarded neck, severing his carotid artery. The result was nauseating, causing people to vomit, faint, and even suffer heart attacks.
Probably one of the most frightening things I've ever seen in doing hockey. I've been doing hockey for the past 30 years.
Malarchuk believed that he was going to die, but his life was saved by trainer Jim Pizzatelli, who had served as a medic in Vietnam. Malarchuk was back at work just 1 week and 300 stitches later, but the incident had a profound and lasting impact on his mental health.
You get hurt, you get bumped around, you break your leg or whatever, but it's nothing to the pain of mental illness.
Before we get to our last story, here are a few other notable examples. Randy Johnson strikes a bird. The Diamondbacks pitcher strikes and kills a bird with a fastball.
23 years later, they're still talking about this. Like you said at the intro, 10 All-Star games, won 300 games, close to 5,000 strikeouts, MVP of a World Series.
And?
You know, and I'm recognized and remembered for killing a bird.
Mike Tyson takes a bite. The boxer rips a chunk from the ear of Evander Holyfield.
I have never seen Evander Holyfield, who is a calm, serene man, as angry as he was. He was jumping in the ring and screaming at Mills Lane and at Mike Tyson. They came back a second time, and again, Mike Tyson bit him.
Pedro Martinez throws Don Zimmer. The Red Sox pitcher throws the 72-year-old Yankees coach to the ground.
That's awful. Don Zimmer, a 72-year-old man, went into Pedro Martinez's face, and Pedro Martinez threw him down.
The Nancy Kerrigan incident. Shane Stant strikes Nancy Kerrigan and takes her out of the U.S. Championship.
A weeping Nancy Kerrigan, carried by her father, who later that afternoon asked the question all the world wanted to know.
Why? Why would someone do this?
Moises Alou breaks his ankle. The outfielder dislocates his ankle, rounding first, resulting in a gruesome sight.
How bad was that? Look at the reaction. The second base umpire.
The Munich Massacre. Playing out in early September 1972, the Munich Massacre was a massive stain not just on the Olympics, but on the West German government.
The 1972 Munich Games became one of the darkest moments in Olympic history.
On the morning of September 5th, a Palestinian terrorist organization called Black September invaded the Olympic Village in Munich. Their goal was to hold the Israeli team hostage and demand the release of over 300 Palestinian prisoners. 2 Israelis were killed in the initial attack and 9 more were taken hostage, kickstarting a media frenzy. However, the crisis ended in tragedy when West German police botched a rescue attempt. All of the hostages were executed and a police officer died in the firefight. All told, 17 people lost their lives.
The German authorities were criticized for a botched rescue operation.
Did you happen to see any of these moments live? Let us know in the comments below. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.